Good evening. It is that time again when we dedicate 1 hour 30 minutes to bring you stories from NTA's top table, treated with the extra touch. Leading the package tonight is the Federal Executive Council, where deliberations on road infrastructure was on the upswing mode. And at the end, more than 43.5 billion naira was approved for the reconstruction of crucial roads infrastructure in 5 states in the Northeast. In the same vein, some states are also to get reimbursement for expenses incurred on federal roads. The rollout of 5G network is finally a reality. We shall tell you all about it. Also tonight, we shall shine our spotlight on ASU strike and the implications of the no work, no pay controversy. There is quite a bit on politics and health as we draw attention to the upsurge of kidney disease in a particular location. How is the rainy season affecting you? Don't miss out on our weather-related stories, a mixed grill of the good, the bad, and also the ugly. We told you some weeks ago about the departure of the Navy ship NNS Akada for Guinea-Bissau. The good news is that it is back after a bon voyage. We have much more on our lineup, so get comfortable while we serve you the full gist. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umurbuba, and this is News Extra. I welcome you. Don't forget, you can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. Over 43.5 billion naira has been approved by the Federal Executive Council for the reconstruction of crucial and critical roads infrastructure in 5 states of the Northeast sub-region. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports on this and other resolutions of the Council.
The hybrid council meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, was also attended physically by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo for the first time since he was discharged from a Lagos hospital after a successful surgery. 8 memoranda from ministries, departments and agencies were considered and approved in furtherance of efforts at enhancing the socio-economic development of the country. 4 of them were presented by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development on behalf of the Northeast Development Commission.
These memos are in respect of road reconstruction for 5 states of the Northeast region.
They are the 22.5 kilometer Ngom Koshodi, Ngom Dosmari, Zabarmari, Gongolongo Kadari Road in Borno State at 13.5 billion naira. 53 kilometer Gombe Kirifi Road linking Gombe and Bauchi states at 11.6 billion naira. 54 kilometer Mutai Ngalda Road in Yobe State at 12.1 billion naira, and 32 kilometer Dabnagarkila Road in Adamawa State at 6.2 billion naira.
And all these roads are being taken into consideration and selected in conjunction with the state governments and other critical stakeholders to stimulate economic activities, enhance security, and facilitate the freer movement of goods and people in these affected states within the zone.
Still on roads infrastructure, the council approved 11.1 billion naira for the Ministry of Works and Housing towards the reconstruction of Mushin NNPC, Apapa Oshodi Road in Lagos State. The council also responded to demands by state governments for the refund on interventions made on federal roads by approving 6.7 billion naira for Kebbi State and 2.4 billion naira for Taraba State.
The council also approved that the road under construction by Taraba State, for which this reimbursement is being made, that contract by the state government should now be terminated. That is the section between Bali and Seti in Taraba State. This is because council had approved the full reconstruction of Bali Seti to Gembu under the NNPC tax credit scheme.
The refunds, the minister explained, relate to debt and obligations incurred by the previous administrations inherited by the Buhari presidency as part of the national debt.
I think it's important to note that when we're having conversations about the national debt, these are some of the components. They were inherited debts that this government is also paying for infrastructure. The last point to note is that this is a bipartisan approval, irrespective of party affiliations. All of the states who submit, who meet the conditions, who show documentation benefit.
It would be recalled that the first tranche of 700 billion naira was paid to 24 states. 5 states that benefited from the second tranche got over 120 billion naira, and the last tranche of 27 billion naira went to the 3 states of Taraba, Kebbi, and in particular Yobe State, which earlier got 18 billion naira. From the State House at the Musambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government says it is not in a hurry to restore the Abuja-Kaduna train services, as it would amount to insensitivity on its part not to consider the plight of families whose loved ones abducted along the route is still in captivity. The Minister of Transportation, Muaz Jaji Sambu, made this clarification while briefing newsmen at the end of the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has that.
There are 2 core matters at the heart of the resumption of the Abuja-Kaduna rail services.
These matters, the minister explained, are that some families of the victims of the March 2022 Abuja-Kaduna train attack are still traumatized over their families still in captivity of the criminal elements, and the need to have surveillance facilities to monitor the rail tracks. This is to ensure that such incidents never happened again.
For goodness sake, wouldn't it be insensitive of us to resume these services as long as some citizens of this country spend days and nights weeping over their loved ones that are held in the bush? So we are pursuing these 2 things at the same time, trying to get the victims of the kidnap released, and at the same time looking for the best solution in terms of surveillance, solutions that are technology based. Ultimately, whatever we have as a template between Abuja and Kaduna that succeeds would also serve the thousands of kilometers of rail lines across the country.
The minister had earlier secured the approval of the council on behalf of the Nigerian Railway Corporation to purchase spare parts as well as undertake the repairs and overhaul of one of its critical cranes at 1.4 billion naira.
This crane is required by the corporation for emergency repairs of the corporation's rolling stock. It has broken down and therefore needed to be fixed.
The Federal Executive Council also approved contract to 2 companies for the provision of security services for the Abuja light rail mass transit system.
And they are going to provide security to the entire 45 kilometers of track, including 12 stations. And these security services are meant to protect the key infrastructure on the rail tracks, the signaling and communication equipment, as well as the electrical system.
27.4 kilometers of the rail tracks covering 8 railway stations will be secured at 407.2 million naira over a 2-year period, while 310.9 million naira will be expended in securing the remaining 18 kilometers and 4 stations. From the State House at the Musambu, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has launched Nigeria's energy transition plan, a roadmap to tackle the dual crisis of energy poverty and climate change. During the virtual global launch of the plan, the Vice President observed that Africa's increasing energy gaps require collaboration to take ownership of the continent's transition pathways, and that the action should be decisive and urgent. State House correspondent Gideon Fadi reports.
Speaking on the need to have a peculiar transition plan, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said for Africa, the problem of energy poverty is as important as its climate ambitions. He maintained that energy use is crucial for almost every conceivable aspect of development. Nigeria, the Vice President said, would need to spend $410 billion above business as usual spending to deliver the transition plan by 2060, which translates to about $10 billion per year. An interministerial energy transition implementation working group, which the Vice President chaired, is currently engaging with partners to secure an initial $10 billion support package. World Bank plans to commit over $1.5 billion towards the energy transition plan. The Vice President explained that the plan has the potential to create about 340,000 jobs by 2030 and 840,000 jobs by 2060. Aside from the transition plan, the Vice President announced the launch of the Universal Energy Facility, an innovative, results-based finance program that focuses on scaling up electricity access for productive uses. He explained that the Universal Energy Facility will provide grant payments to enable solar companies to expand their operations to small and medium-sized enterprises across Nigeria, while crowding in additional private capital. In the State House, Jide Onifadi, NTA News.
So a bit of ICT now, as the much anticipated 5th generation network for mobile telecommunication has been finally rolled out in Lagos, but at pilot stage with preparation for a commercial launch in 7 cities at a later date. Beyond the promise of internet speed and more efficiently in communication experience, there are issues which experts say might slow down coverage. Michael Olale in this report examines some of the challenges in view of service providers' target of expanding services to more than 500 sites by October this year.
From the conspiracy theory that links 5G to the spread of coronavirus and fear revolving around interference with rights operations in the United States, 5G has finally weathered the storm and rolled out in Nigeria by NTA. The prospects of increasing data speed by 100 times compared to 4G and changing the spectrum of doing business both in the commerce and entertainment sectors are enticing. But beyond these are some questions waiting for answers.
I do have a 5G enabled device, but I haven't seen the icon on my phone yet.
Although handful of answers were reported to have accessed the services in Lagos in the early hours of Wednesday. But for mobile phone users like Omololamao, the cost that comes with getting a 5G enabled device is demanding.
I feel that what 5G phone can actually do, 3G phone can actually do the same thing. So why stress myself like putting the old money that I was supposed to use for something else on a phone?
Based on market survey, it will take nothing less than 150,000 naira to buy a 5G enabled phone. This is just a tip of the many challenges emphasized with laying of fiber optic cables across the country, a major infrastructural concern.
5G is a low latency service, and this implies that to build out the network, a lot of cell sites and transmitters needs to be placed close enough to the end users. Now, all this needs to be powered up. Therein lies one of the challenge, because if you don't have stable electricity to power up these transmitting units, then it's going to be a challenge.
MTN is projecting the activation of 500 to 600 5G sites across Nigeria by October this year. But there are still questions around cost and penetration, especially to rural areas.
It's a project that requires multi-stakeholder collaboration. On the side of government, for example, it should continue to encourage the use of 5G in the various sectors of the economy. On the part of the regulator, it is to provide regulatory assistance, which it has always done in the past, to the operators to support them in terms of the spectrum which they need.
Experts say, regardless of the challenges, the deployment of infrastructure for wider coverage will be prioritized by investors in order to quickly recoup investments. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
In contemporary world, ICT rules, and Nigeria is taking full advantage of this transition and getting its own share of the benefits, contributing 17.92% to the nation's GDP. But more grounds need to be covered to set the nation on the path to achieving rapid digital transformation and economic growth. So the Presidential Council on Digital Economy and E-Governance Master Plan is making a proposal for the creation of Ministry of Digital Economy at the state level to harmonize activities for smooth implementation of national digital economy policy and strategy nationwide. Chidimma Ndebisi will give us all the details.
The National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, NDEPS 2020 to 2030, focuses on 8 pillars: digital literacy and e-governance, skills, infrastructure, regulation, emerging technologies, and indigenous content development. Was launched in 2019 to fast-track the nation's digital transformation. 70% of these pillars have been attained. In fact, the target to make cost of 1 gigabyte of data 390 naira by 2025 has been surpassed, as currently 1 gigabyte of data costs 344 naira as against 1,200 in 2019. More than 84 million people are now connected to the internet. Helen tells me that this has helped flourish her small-scale online business. Nigeria and the Korean Inter-Cooperation Agency, KOICA, is on the second phase of a collaboration to develop Nigeria's e-government. $30 million is being committed to this. Emmanuel here testifies to the impact of e-governance.
Before, we do carry files from one office to another. But right now, you can equally scan through your phone, your computer, just right on your table here.
The federal government's plan to get 98% broadband penetration across the country by 2025, with 95% of the population digitally literate, is progressing. To successfully implement NDEPS nationwide, state governors and other major players are to be on board. The Presidential Council on Digital Economy and E-Governance was inaugurated. One governor from each geopolitical zone, some ministers, and notable players in ICT and the academia constitute the council. They have met for the first time and are strategizing on ways to strengthen government's capacity to develop, adopt, and deploy digital technologies for economic growth, efficiency, and transparency in governance.
Many states have good initiatives on digital economy. However, there is lack of harmonization to the activities. So framework is going to be developed so that our subnationals will play their own role and federal government will continue to provide intervention where necessary.
We want to now create a full-blown ministry of digital economy and IT management in the state as soon as I get back, and making sure we have a robust digital economy that will create jobs and employment for our young men and women that are currently roaming the streets.
We're doing it on our own. It's not connected, it's not aligned with what's happening nationally. So this council essentially helps align the different initiatives from the digital initiatives from different parts of the country so that we can reduce the waste that comes with non-alignment.
In another development, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Pantabi, has inaugurated 44 members of the governing boards of National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, Nigerian Postal Service, NIPOST, and National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. The boards are to drive the implementation of digital economy policies. In Abuja, Chidimma Ndebisi, NTA News.
From ICT stories now to education. One contentious issue that seems to thwart resumption of academic activities by the Academic Staff Union of Universities is the insistence by government to play it by the book and not pay the salaries of university lecturers for the period that they stayed off the classrooms. What is the implication of this? Abdullahi Musa Saleja takes a look at the unfolding scenario.
Within the last 6 months of the industrial action embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU, different options have been presented by the union and the government on an acceptable framework toward ending the impasse. The last parley sparked hope for a truce, but for one issue, no work, no pay. That is the government stand. While the union insists that withheld salaries remains the entitlement of its members and must be paid.
People that have the genuine interest of pursuing a goal should also be ready to sacrifice. So in that light, then the policy of no work, no pay should be enforced across boards. But also in the case of the university, like I told you, there are many people that were just pulled into the strike. For example, my group, the Conwa Union in the universities, we never declared strike. And so even when the other union declared strike and left teaching job, our members were still in their offices waiting for students to come to class, but then suddenly management had to shut down the universities.
Such issues also will entail that parties go to the negotiation table with open mind and importantly with the all desire to end the issue. We are on the path of trying to see to it that those issues are resolved.
If the labor laws legitimize strike, what is the position of the law on withholding the salaries of striking workers?
This is about law and practice. In the best economies, you have had even teachers in the US have went on strike. Once the issues are resolved, they must cover for the academic period that have been lost, and therefore they have been paid. In many countries, it has happened.
Now, we can do it without any strike, no doubt. Strikes are a huge distraction, doing no one any good. They neither do the government, nor the students, nor even the staff who are on strike any good.
In this contest of wit and will between the union and the government, the students are the seeming helpless victims, while other stakeholders have become spectators watching to see the turn of events. Abdullahi Musa Suleja, NTA News.
And the decline in performance in 2022 West African Senior School Certificate Examination is no doubt worrisome, as it has attracted comments from various quarters. Hinkino John Adams spoke with some key players in the education sector.
In 2019, performance was 64.18%. In 2020, it grew by 1.06% to 65.24%. 2021 witnessed a leap to 81.7%, an impressive performance which was greatly commended, with the hope that the improvement will be maintained. Ironically, 2022 witnessed a drop to 76.36%. What could be the reason for the decline?
The parents have a role to play, but the major actor has to do with the academic institutions as well as the teachers. Where they are not comfortable, where they are not focused, where they are not in a state of what you might call a placid atmosphere of engagement.
Some decided to distinguish themselves by burning candles at both ends.
I read, I prayed, and I practiced. That's how I made my papers.
I make sure I sit with him at times to prepare him for the paper, no matter how tight my schedule is.
The head of Nigeria National Office, Patrick Aragon, revealed that cases of exam malpractice increased from 10.9% last year to 22.83%.
We must learn to resist the temptation of looking for shortcuts to making it academically. We must focus on what we are supposed to focus on.
This negative development requires prompt action to protect the nation's education system.
It's something that has to be fought at the institutional level.
beginning from the family. I believe that if parents will actually sit down to encourage their children to value hard work and the dignity of labor, we can start to fight the problems of examination malpractices out there.
Building a strong education system is key to national development, and as Nigeria journeys towards that path, key players say everyone's contribution is needed. In Lagos, Hengino John Adams, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Hengino. The presidency wishes to put it on record and at the same time reassure faithful party members that President Muhammadu Buhari remains a disciplined soldier of the All Progressives Congress APC and will, in all the coming elections, support only those candidates filed by the party and no other. This is a warning to decamped party members and some others who are still in court against official candidates of the APC that they are on their own and nobody outside the party tent should link what they are doing to President Buhari. The president wishes to be quoted as saying that he is the occupant of the high office of the president by the grace of God, who used the instrumentality of the APC to bring him to power with a historic verdict in 2015, end of quote. In 2019, he was returned with a bigger majority for the first time. A non-PDP government came to power with a huge majority after 16 years of the Fourth Republic. His constant refrain is, "I will not betray or undermine my party by supporting candidates other than those of the APC." The president says he will continue to support the party at all levels to enforce discipline, synchronization, and coordination. In a matter of weeks, electioneering campaigns will hit the streets and airwaves, except the electoral umpire. INEC thinks otherwise. For now, and all things being equal, 28th of September 2022 remains sacrosanct for commencement of political campaigns and other activities, climaxing into the much anticipated 2023 elections. And as a nation with the multi-party system, the podium will rise again in response to the call of politicians to Nigerian audience to woo supporters and votes. But how should they speak to their target population without heating up the body politic? Abubakar Akwanga finds out how.
Nigeria will be 62 come October 1, 2022. A multi-party democratic nation with critical players keenly contesting for power within a periodic framework as permitted by the law to govern for a period of 4 years and seek renewal of tenure as it is in the case of the executive, while the tenure for the legislative arm is not time-bound.
In few months to come, politicians vying to fill in various elective offices will be on top of their games to galvanize support and canvass for votes, as it has always been the tradition during campaigns.
And we believe we have a lot to say to Nigerians. They came out strong and they rescued Nigeria.
Andy Jatto, a retired immigration officer, is 67, 5 years older than the Nigerian state, and has witnessed several elections in the country. He believes that issues-driven campaign is apparently an evidence of a growing and stable democracy.
Anybody that is coming on board, assessing first and foremost, is it divorce of tribal sentiments? Is it divorce of religious sentiments? Is it divorce of sexual sentiment? If you find out that the man is divorced from that, I think that's the right president for Nigeria.
Like Jatto, some Nigerians shared similar perspective on the value addition issue-based campaigns bring to the political space and appealed to politicians to display maturity and play the game by the rules.
Those who are aspiring to lead us in the year from year 2023 to go to issue-based, so that they can tell Nigerians what they can do for our people. We have passed the time of calling names or throwing jibs on people. We should look at issue. I believe that if I'm a supporter to a particular political party, I should be asking the party that I am supporting you. What do you have on the table when you come in?
We are not campaigning on religious basis, nor are we campaigning on ethnic basis, nor So are we campaigning on zonal basis?
Any shock in the oil sector has a ripple effect on the economy. What can we do to encourage more businesses locally? What can we do to support local content to go beyond oil and gas?
Andy Jatto may be 67, but he had an accomplished life in the public service at 60, a period he says Nigeria may just add required to be self-sufficient if only politics would be made decent, devoid of abusive, inflammatory and uncharitable remarks. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Plans by stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress are on the increase to reactivate machineries and galvanize support to sustain the party's electoral victory. This desire is already increasing synergy among party supporters who converged on Abuja. Salihu Gwanara has that.
It is about a decade now when this group of Nigerians have joined the ideals of the progressive politics and policies. Now that the nation is preparing for another general elections, members of the APC say the 2023 elections will serve as a transition period for the party because President Muhammadu Buhari will no longer be on the ballot.
Meaning it is a wide open election. What do we do with such an election? We double down. We'll be able to tell our stories in a way that other people have not been able to tell their story as succinctly as they should.
Now, excuses for failure is when you manufacture facts that are non-existent to justify your non-performance. That is excuses. But when you state facts, they are different from excuses. And in this circumstance, we found ourselves, President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC government has overperformed.
Meanwhile, political activities by women wing of the APC National Working Committee is on the increase ahead of the official flag off of the presidential campaign.
And to galvanize our resources, energy, time, finance, skills and knowledge toward the team and canvas for massive votes.
The time has come for us to put on our serious shoes and work for our dear party. That this time, whosoever works will be recognized and will be rewarded.
It is a strategic engagement to harmonize ideas towards a common goal. In Abuja, Salihu Gwanara, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari sends warm greetings to Sultan of Sokoto, Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, on his 66th birthday. The president joins family members, friends, and the Muslim Ummah in celebrating with the spiritual leader who continues to champion the cause of peace and unity in the country by regularly counseling institutions, professionals, and public servants to abide by acceptable standards. President Buhari extols the Sultan of Sokoto for his patriotic role in always advocating for a better Nigeria by working with different religious, traditional, and political leaders to always guide followers on making right choices that safeguard and ensure a brighter future. As the revered leader and President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs turns 66, the President acknowledges the maturity, selflessness, and sacrifices of Sultan of Sokoto since he ascended the throne in 2006. Let's take some time out at this point. When News Extra returns, we shall shine our spotlight on the high prevalence of kidney disease among the populace somewhere in the northeast and efforts to reverse the disturbing trend. Join us again for this and more shortly. Great to have you back on News Extra. In 2 months' time, heads of MDAs will be trooping to the National Assembly for the annual ritual of budget defense. But before then, it is the House committees that are visiting the MDAs to assess performances against approved budgets. The House Committee on Healthcare Services is one of such oversighting agencies, and its purview. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the visit to NAFDAC, whose ranking has significantly improved at the World Health Organization.
Assessment by the World Health Organization, the NAFDAC is currently level 3 in global benchmark ranking, and we are working very hard to ensure that by their next visit, we will be level 4.
The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has recorded success in both professional and financial fronts. Aside its improved global ranking as a regulatory body, the Director General told the committee that it is not doing badly too on revenue generation.
For 2022, we proposed 3.6 that was approved for us, 3.6 billion. Right now, we have generated about 2 billion naira as of July of this year, so our performance is about 81.2.
The budget performance for 2022 stands at 89% based on releases as indicated on records presented. Thus, the lawmakers raised some observations.
It was a good presentation, but it was over-summarized. And really, you need to follow the template of just getting the budget and then how much was released, the line items, percentage of completion, deduction, and comment.
NAFDAC promised to provide details as required. Other agencies visited by the Committee for Oversight Functions are the National Health Insurance Authority and the National Blood Service Commission.
What we have done in this ELHS in the last few years, it took 20 years for NHIS to be able to do it.
From this year's appropriation, when you can see how Abuja is producing, high tech. Now have in 6 centers now. Have in Jos, have in Kaduna, have in Ibadan, have in Owerri.
The committee urged health-related agencies in the country to justify appropriations by ensuring improved services to Nigerians. Lami Ali, NTA News.
And scientists at the just concluded AIDS conference in Montreal, Canada, want world leaders to imagine a world where every individual has access to HIV treatment of choice, devoid of discrimination and stigmatization. They noted that ending AIDS by 2030 is possible but requires collective responsibility. Basi Ita Ikbang reports that Nigeria's achievements in HIV response and treatment was presented to the world by Nigerian scientists.
Established 1988, International AIDS Conference has grown to Global Conference. The yearly AIDS Conference brings scientists and researchers from across the world together to galvanize scientific response to HIV, build global solidarity, and create human dignity for a community of people living with HIV.
And science is edging us closer to a cure. Without financial investment, this will not happen.
Until everyone has access to the best that science can offer, we will never end this or any future pandemic. Together we can.
There needs to be action now, and I think the main thing about this is that when we talk about ending AIDS by 2030, what are we really doing to address stopping HIV transmission? U equals U needs to be implemented everywhere, immediately, now.
For us in Nigeria, for example, which is a very large country, when you think from a patient perspective, so what are the implications for me? How does this affect me in terms of the efficacy?
Some Nigerians also spoke on their experience and their take home.
We now know how we can better engage those who are left behind.
We are taking best practices in terms of the new treatment guidelines.
New scientific discoveries on HIV intervention and response were presented with a resolve to ending HIV by 2030. Basi Taipa, NTA News.
More on health. Traditional rulers in all the 6 states of the Southwest are promising to use their influence to support federal government's health programs, especially as they relate to promotion of vaccines and vaccination. This was at the maiden quarterly meeting of the Southwest Traditional Rulers Committee on Primary Health Care Delivery in Abuja. Oluseyi Adebo has more.
Regardless of status, every human being should have unfiltered access to quality healthcare services. With 80 to 90% of basic health needs of the populace expected to be met at the primary healthcare level, the federal government is now striving relentlessly to ensure PHC centers are in good shape, and government is extensively engaging these key players in Nigeria's health sector to achieve this feat.
From Southwest, we've been able to put ourselves together, and we traditional rulers, we don't want to leave everything to government to be doing. Things we can do for our people, how we can actually help them as far as primary health is concerned.
Because the influence of the traditional rulers on the state governments, on local government, and on development partners is very strong. And if they have to focus attention on these things I just mentioned, human resources, infrastructure, supply chain, then we can get to the objective that we're talking about.
Again, we are learning from lessons, and from time-honored antecedents that when you go through the gatekeepers of the communities, then community members are likely to listen to you and accept your messages.
With traditional rulers playing active role in Nigeria's success story of wide polio virus-free status, expectation from this engagement is to strengthen forces on regional and national targets in routine immunization, COVID-19 vaccination, including maternal and child health. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adebo, NTA News.
At last, there is a ray of hope for people in Yobe as the government is rolling out a comprehensive containment approach to the rising cases of kidney disease in the state. Among other steps, the state government is set to utilize specialist and state-of-the-art equipment at the Yobe State University Teaching Hospital and other tertiary health institutions in the state for effective treatment and management of the disorder. Bashir Ibrahim Baba reports.
Joshua, the headquarters of Badi local government area of Yobe State, has been on the spotlight recently for different reasons, one of which is the high rate of mortality and morbidity caused by renal failure being recorded in the area. Its location few miles below the convergence point of rivers Hadeja and Jama'ari, flowing from the neighboring Jigawa and Bauchi state, provides an opportunity for the residents and neighboring communities to venture into fishing and farming as the mainstay of their economy. While leveraging on these endowments of nature, the communities are at the same time being made to contend with the challenges relating to the alarming cases of kidney disorder that keeps claiming lives in almost every home. Preliminary studies had suggested contamination of the water sources and chemicals used for agricultural activities are some of the causes of the disease in the area. Other findings revealed concentration of lead deposits in fish and urine samples of patients above NAFDAC, FAO, and WHO standards.
A lot of cases, actually. There are a lot of cases. In every maybe 10, you will find 4 or 5 they would say they have kidney disease.
Yobe state government says addressing the public health challenge through the improvement of water supply in Gashua town, the epicenter of the kidney disorder, and is also set to commission a research team in collaboration with the affected state government so as to forge a common front in tackling the menace.
Already we have a hospital that has all the necessary equipment, and of course we also have that needed expertise that will be able to, with good training, should be able to carry out that. So in view of that, we went into partnership with the Al Mansura, where, of course, their doctors will be coming here, their surgeons will be coming here to be carrying out the renal transplant services. The second thing is that, of course, we'll be sending our doctors and our other cadres of healthcare workers over there.
As part of its intervention, the federal government had in December last year awarded contract worth over 3.5 billion naira for 2 water projects aimed at ensuring provision of potable water to the affected communities. From Damaturu, Bashir Nawaba, NTA News.
Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, is creating more wealth by making more people millionaires. This is as customers of Dangote cement in Abuja joined their counterparts in other parts of the country to win cash prizes and exciting gift items in the ongoing Dangote Bag of Goodies Season 3 promo launched in Lagos recently. Bosade Abel reports that the initiative is part of giving back to the society.
This is the type of dance steps people display after winning a cash prize of 5 million naira. That is the story of Manza Joshua Abba, a customer of Dangote Cement.
To me, he's trying to give back. Yes, and he's giving back. So he's doing well.
Dangote is the best among the cements of the country Nigeria.
This is what I expect from entrepreneurs or business owners.
With every single bag of Dangote cement produced daily, a millionaire is likely to emerge. All it takes is to spell Dangote under the promo Dangote Bag of Goodies Season 3. And indeed, customers of this product are smiling to the banks, in addition to going home with exciting prizes. With a total of 32.3 million gifts for customers and prospective consumers of its products, organizers say promo is targeted at stimulating the economy by supporting players in the construction and real estate subsector.
The housing need, this is a way of keying into the housing needs of Nigeria. So a way of encouraging people to build more houses, to invest in their own housing needs. And then when you can invest, when you can build your houses, and you win money, and you win big prices. I mean, who can do this better than Dangote PLC?
And despite all this cost of production, Alhaji Aliko is trying as much as possible to ensure that we minimize the cost by increasing the efficiency of our production process. That will enable us basically to bring down the cost so that at least it will be that affordable.
With more than 1 billion naira cash prize to be won, every single bag of Dangote cement to be produced daily through the promo period will contain scratch cards for various gifts to be won by consumers. A demonstration of the company's vision towards the welfare of its stakeholders. In Abuja, Bosade Abel, NTA News.
I congratulate all the winners as I book up for them. A first-tier financial institution, Zenith Bank PLC, has declared a double-digit growth rate of 17% in its gross earnings from 346 billion naira recorded in half-year of 2021 to 405 billion naira in 2022. Management of the institution said Zenith Bank has once again demonstrated its leadership position in the financial market through the audited results for the period on the review. Len Nemeke reports.
Figures from Zenith Bank audited half-year financial results show a 19% year-on-year growth in interest income from 204 billion to 242 billion and an 18% year-on-year growth in non-interest income from 127 billion to 149 billion. The growth in interest income was attributed to an increase in the loan book and an improved interest margins. The increase in non-interest income is described by the management as the group's success in its diversification strategy. Profit before tax grew by 11% year-on-year from 117 billion to 130 billion, as earnings per share also grew from 3.38 to 3.55 over the space of same 6 months. As leading financial institution that prioritizes customer satisfaction, the bank recorded an 11% year-to-date increase in total customer deposits to close the period at 7.15 trillion. while the retail strategy of the group continues to deliver outstanding results as retail deposits grew by 17% year to date from 1.82 trillion to 2.13 trillion. Despite the windheads imposed by the operating environment, the group grew its risk assets as gross loans grew by 5% year to date from 3.5 trillion to 3.7 trillion. This was achieved at a moderate non-profit loan ratio of 4.4% and cost of risk of 1.4%. Prudence ratios such as liquidity, capital adequacy also remained stable and well above regulatory thresholds at 60.5% and 21.0% respectively. In the meantime, Zenith Bank PLC, in a year under review, increased its total assets to 10.12 trillion at the end of June 2022 from 9.45 trillion at the end of December 2021. With these outstanding records, management of the bank says they are focused on advancing digital banking strategy anchored on a strong technology base with the intention to consolidate on the gains achieved in prior years across all business segments. In Lagos, Lynn Deleke, NTA News.
A holistic approach must be deployed in reopening conversations and rebuilding trust for national integration, peace and security to be achieved. This was part of the takeaways at the closing of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Citizen Summit. Haman Jabani has that.
Among the 5 plenary that includes citizens re-engagement through behavior re-engineering and reopening conversation and rebuilding trust, framework, mechanism and strategies, discussions see the role of education, traditional rulers, rule of law and youth engagement as key, while seeing religion, ethnic and social differences as a strong mechanism for rethinking.
This is why some of our elites could sit in their corners and talk about dividing Nigeria without knowing the complexities, the diversities, the multiculturalism, as well as the pluralistic nature of the country called Nigeria.
And if we are going to start interrogating, where do you start from? It's the Constitution. And what are those areas? Have we been able to identify whether or not the Constitution is in sync with our national aspirations?
Nigerian Institute of Public Relations says the conversation is achievable and that all recommendations will be reached, while the draft summit report committee will work for 3 months that will lead to a citizen charter for national reconciliation, integration and development.
It's your turn to be responsible to the nation that you call your own. We must be responsible citizens. Our responsibility goes beyond ourselves. The president and then is president. Nigeria is a public affair.
While we were doing this, we were actually discouraged from getting in touch with some segments because some quarters believed that they were the problem. And we felt, how can you solve a problem if you don't engage with it? We believe that you don't run away from a problem. You confront it head on and solve it.
We'll go with it, we'll fly with it, and by the time, God willing, we get to 2023, we'll also succeed together in giving birth to a leadership that will understand that the yearnings and aspirations of the people must remain uppermost in their minds.
Creating an effective firewall for the entrenchment of peace and security and developing, as well as introducing a culture of excellence among citizens and leaders of the nation will be achieved in the long run. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Now, from the good and the not so good, the rain and weather generally impact people and the environment in different ways. So in the next segment of News Extra, we shall bring you this mixed grill, as well as why the saying that a stitch in time saves 9 must be taken seriously. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying. Federal government, states and local government councils share 954.085 billion naira July allocation as investors gain 64.9 billion naira in the capital market. Musa Abakar is here with details. on Business News. Musa.
Thank you, Fatima. The Federation Account Allocation Committee has shared a total sum of 954.085 billion naira July 2022 Federation account revenue to the federal government, states and local government councils. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of the Federation Account Allocation Committee FAC meeting held in Abuja today. The communique confirmed that from the total distributable revenue of 954.085 billion naira, the federal government received 406.610 billion naira. The state government receives 281.342 billion naira, and the local government councils received 210.617 billion naira. The sum of 55.515 billion naira was shared to the relevant states as 13% derivation revenue. The 954.085 billion naira total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 776.918 billion naira and distributable value added tax. Now, as Nigeria strives to boost food self-sufficiency and increase foreign exchange earnings, experts in the statistical space stress that this can not be achieved without accurate data for food production and utilization. This was at a training on food balance sheet and public sector management organized by the National Bureau of Statistics.
To take Nigerians out of hunger, application of food balance sheet is germane. Food balance sheet is essential for sustainable food security. The food balance sheet provides a sound basis for the policy analysis and decision making needed to ensure food security. It is therefore suggestible that the federal government should establish.
We have been talking about food insecurity. This training will help us to be able to come up with accurate data that can inform government on the availability of food and whether there is need for us to import any particular type of food item, or we have all our food requirements in the right quantity that is needed.
Now, the capital market, the equities market, is starting to look positive as the NGX or share index appreciated by 0.25% at 48,675.33 basis point. Market capitalization climbed to 26.253 trillion naira, 167.5 million shares exchanged hands by investors in 3,751 deals, valued at 3.373 billion naira. Trading in the top three are Access Holding PLC, UBA and FBN Holdings. Now, Fatima, this is where I hand over to you.
Thank you so much for handing over. Thanks for Business News. Now, the media has over time proven to be a strong medium partnering development. This has, I beg your pardon, also been the mandate of the Nigerian Television Authority NTA, which has again reaffirmed its commitment to remain a veritable tool for the promotion of unity, justice and economic viability of Nigeria. NTA management reaffirmed this when it played host to two agents of development, Team New Nigeria and Miss Agriculture Nigeria. Joseph Erskine reports.
In 2023, Nigerians will be going to the poll to elect new leaders. For this civil society group called Team New Nigeria, the time is ripe to promote a new country aside challenges hindering its unity and progress. Partnership with NTA seems the perfect match to evaluate trends in the polity ahead of mobilizing Nigerians to make right choices.
New Nigeria is presently at the forefront to massively mobilize Nigerians in an unprecedented manner towards ensuring that 2023 ushers all Nigerians into a new Nigeria built on equity, fairness, justice, and mutual respect.
It is the responsibility of NTA
to be able to coax and work together with all different interests so that there will be peaceful coexistence and we should build this great Nigeria.
In the area of attaining food security, NTA wants to give the youth a platform to explore opportunities in the agricultural sector. At this interface with Miss Agriculture, the Executive Director of Finance on behalf of NTA management urges youth not to shy away from the venture as there are huge chances for jobs and wealth.
Federal government is in support of agriculture. He has even said we should try as much as possible to grow what we eat. Importation. We should rather export, because it will increase our revenue earnings.
If at least 60% of the youths in Nigeria take up the challenge to become agripreneurs, we'll definitely have a stable economy.
These handshakes are expected to open doors for more collaborations to play critical roles in building a stronger nation with economic viability. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
The growing rate of global crisis has continued to escalate serious humanitarian crisis, hunger and displacement of people. As a result, the need for humanitarian intervention to make life more meaningful for the victims became highly required. Correspondent Ilyasu Yakub examines the situation in Nigeria.
The experience of insurgency in northeast Nigeria has been a major concern to humanitarian actors in the region because many of the humanitarian actors die in the process while many got injured. The federal government had to initiate a policy of door-to-door food distribution devoid of racketeering and diversion to curtail the humanitarian explosion in the region. In June 2017, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo inaugurated the house-to-house monthly distribution of food items to the victims of insurgency in the northeast, in order to reduce the rising cases of humanitarian crisis bedeviling the region. The 2022 World Humanitarian Day was uniquely celebrated in Maiduguri, with President Muhammadu Buhari unveiling food items donated by NEMA for victims of insurgency in the region. And in the spirit of this celebration, the Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, honored 10 members of staff of the agency. 2 former staff received posthumous award, while others with degrees of injuries in the course of discharging their duties as humanitarian workers were also appreciated.
As part of the World Humanitarian Day, today we are remembering and celebrating NEMA humanitarian actors that have lost their lives and those that have suffered injury and trauma in the line of duty.
It's a recognition that goes along in helping us to do more in the field of service.
At least I will use this to say, Mommy, rest well, because my mother died as a result of this kidnap,
The theme of the 2022 World Humanitarian Day celebration is "It takes a village to raise a child." In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
And the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu congratulates the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, on his 66th birthday. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a statement by his media office, extols the 20th Sultan of Sokoto for his exemplary leadership as a preeminent traditional ruler and spiritual head of Muslims in Nigeria, describing him as a unifier. His interventions, he says, on many burning national issues and crises have on all occasions been the soothing balm that helped diffuse tensions. Similarly, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, commends the role of Sultan Abubakar as co-chair of the Nigerian Interreligious Council, NIREC, which promotes interreligious harmony and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. So far, so good. NNS Kado returns home after first national assignment to Guinea-Bissau. This and more security stories would come your way right after we come back from this next breather that beckons. Welcome back. 13 foreign defense advisors and attachés posted to Nigeria by various countries have been accredited by the Nigerian Defense Intelligence Agency. What is the implication of this event? Defense correspondent Ismail Musa explains.
This brief symbolic ceremony at the Defense Intelligence Headquarters Abuja is the final phase of accreditation and documentation for foreign defense attachés and advisors posted to Nigeria.
Let me also use this opportunity to assure you all of Nigeria's bullish commitment to improving the security and safety situation in the country. As you heard during the security brief, the federal government, through the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies, is leaving no stone unturned to improve security in the country, despite numerous challenges. I make bold to state that our efforts are beginning to pay off.
It also serves as official endorsement for the deployed advisors to carry out their duties.
We are presently also training almost 150 officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces in India every year, and we presently have a training team from India which is presently in Jaji in the infantry school, and in fact the first commandant of the NTA here was an Indian Army officer.
Great privilege and honor to be here today to receive my accreditation, and I look forward to working with our partners here in Nigeria to advance both of our mutual interests.
These senior military officers on diplomatic mission gather information and ensure enhanced military ties between Nigeria and their various countries. From the Defense Intelligence Agency Headquarters Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
In the meantime, 21 suspects are helping the police in the investigation of alleged murder of a former DPO and State House of Assembly members. Charles Alpha reports that the Force Bureau Intelligence Response Team Guzapi paraded the suspects before newsmen in Abuja.
The Force Intelligence Bureau, through the Intelligence Response Team, upon credible intelligence, arrested 4 suspects in June this year, who were said to have allegedly stormed the residence of the former serving member of the Bauchi State House of Assembly in August 2020.
The dreadful gang equally kidnapped 3 family members, 2 wives and a 1-year-old daughter of the slain House of Assembly member when they attacked his residence in August 2020.
Attesting to this act, he and his gang murdered Musamante, the lawmaker, for failing to provide a well for their cattle. The gang, he said, were also allegedly responsible for the purported murder of DPO of the Tafawa Balewa division in Bauchi State.
The instruction to ensure that we remove all illegal arms from wherever they are. And you can see we have been able to do that for the past 1 month.
Other suspects were paraded before newsmen in Abuja on alleged account of criminal conspiracy, armed robbery, unlawful possession of firearms, cultism, and jailbreak. 10 AK-47 rifles, 1 D3 rifle, 8 pump-action guns, 3 locally made pistols, 3 double-barrel guns, 48 7.62 mm AK-47 live ammunition, 109 AA pistol, and 471 K2 ammunition were recovered from the suspects. In Abuja, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Let's take our last breather for the night, after which we bring you a bit of sports. Don't go away. Talking sports, in the special report, correspondent Chukwunonso Mwabweze examines how the implementation of the just approved 10-year football development master plan by the federal government will aid in ensuring more successes and development of the game in Nigeria.
Nigeria is by all means a footballing nation with litany of accolades to the testament, while abundant talents abound in its nook and cranny. The 10-year football development master plan submitted to President Muhammadu Buhari by the sports minister Tuesday in Abuja is therefore viewed by many as a major ingredient necessary for realizing the great and far-reaching potentials of the sport for the good of the country.
This government is interested in developing a football culture that will accommodate football best practices and that will help the nation to to lay a solid foundation for her domestic football. Put in place professionally and efficiently run leagues, entrench a consistent and stable football calendar, and create a value chain which will boost the sports ecosystem.
Mr. President, with your approval, this document will be presented to the Federal Executive Council for approval on future funding so that the implementation of the short, medium, and long-term plans can commence as part of the legacies of this administration.
The Nigeria Football 10-year Development Master Plan, targeted from 2022 to 2032, identifies 15 key areas of challenge and provides practical recommendations to address these fundamental problems that have bedeviled football development in the country. Focus will mainly be on building capacity for sustainability, strategic youth development programs, efficient club administration, and positive stakeholder engagement.
Of business, our country Nigeria invest a lot in business. Apart from providing funds to the NFF, we are year in, year out. Facilities are also key. A lot of things we waste there. I think I want to release some of them and say kudos.
The 10-year Football Development Master Plan, a world-class document, took the Ibrahim Galadima-led 16-member committee 6 months to prepare. In Abuja, I am Chukunon Sonwabweze, NTA News.
And with that, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Please stay safe.